Welcome to Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. Among animals, survival is always a primary concern, but it takes much greater effort in winter than in summer. This is particularly true in areas where the winters are most harsh, such as here in the Rocky Mountains. Many of the smaller animals, which are normally prey, have gone underground into hibernation for the winter, and their absence causes the predators to be considerably more competitive in finding food. They are also considerably more possessive about keeping it once they have found it. The cougar is the principal predator of the high country, and even this big cat often finds competition stiff when winter comes to cougar country.
The first snowfall has come gently, spreading itself over cougar country, pleasantly muting all sounds and making the mountains seem poised for their plunge into winter. Barren limbs are now suddenly resplendent with a filigree of snow and frost crystals. In less than a day, the forested slopes have been transformed to a white world of first snow beauty. But this is a deceptive beauty. For with the snow comes peril for all wild creatures living in this country. Elk must labor to find food grasses, and survival becomes progressively more difficult. Weak members of the herd may fall, and as more storms come and the snow deepens, the surviving elk will be forced out of the high country and into the valleys. As survival has become more difficult for the elk, so too are the predators hard put to find prey. And it is wise to watch for them, especially for that great enemy, the cougar. She's a powerful, experienced hunter, but even this big cat will soon feel the pinch of hunger, as many of the other predators in her territory are already feeling it. Only recently, this big female abandoned her two nearly grown cubs and is experiencing a new freedom now that it is no longer necessary to care for them constantly. Nevertheless, she still continues to occasionally keep an eye on them from a distance. In the process, she observes how other predators nearby are faring. A golden eagle has possession of an early victim of winter, a deer that was already weak when the storm struck. Nothing is wasted in nature, and winter-killed animals usually become food for hungry predators. It is a lucky break for the snowshoe hare, among the foremost of preyed-upon animals in the winter woods. This time the eagle is not interested, but its scrutiny encourages the hare to seek safer quarters. It's a dangerous time indeed for this animal. Until recently, many other small mammals were also food for predators. Now, however, the chipmunks, marmots, and ground squirrels have gone into underground hibernation for the winter. As the hare is aware of the eagle, so too the eagle, ready to fight for the carcass, watches the cougar. But the cat's attention is caught by a red fox nearby, who is being singularly unsuccessful in his hunt for mice in the new snow and becoming hungrier by the minute. It's a foretaste of what is in store in the months to come. Many prey animals are hibernating, and the snow helps hide those which are not. As a result, hunting becomes increasingly difficult. This fox, along with other predators, including even the big female cougar, will quite often depend on the elements to provide them with food. This is why the death of a weakened deer or elk is not the tragedy it might at first seem. It is nature's way of providing for predators who might otherwise starve during the winter. And once a carcass like this has been found, the finder will fight even much larger predators to keep possession of it. The bobcat could easily have defeated the fox, but in nature there is a peculiar first claim ethic, which sometimes allows a small predator to defend his possession against a larger predator. And, bluffed away from the carcass, the bobcat finds the scent of a cottontail rabbit, who is as yet unaware of his presence. Though not for long. Now, having been outmaneuvered, the bobcat is stirred by memory of the carcass upon which the red fox is feeding. Later in the season, when hunger haunts the bobcat, he will attack and devour a fox such as this without hesitation. But for now, all he wants is the deer carcass. Though nervous at the cat's returning, the fox refuses to give way at first. Courage deserts the fox, however, and his apprehension increases. For a moment, it seems the bobcat has won. But the strange natural ethic is strong, and it is the cat who gives up. With the bobcat having departed, and the fox continuing to feed, the attention of the big female cougar is diverted by the appearance of her two cubs, who are now not much smaller than she. They are content with their own activities, excited by their very first snow. Even though they see her watching them, they know they are no longer welcome to go to her, and so they continue their play, ignoring her as lately she has ignored them. The female has taught her cubs the skills necessary for survival. Soon those skills will be tested. Her job is finished. The two young are now on their own. Chances are she'll never see them again. With winter nigh, self-survival becomes paramount. The running and playing of the two young cougars in the first snow has used a great deal of energy, and suddenly the realization has struck that they're alone and hungry. Games are over for now, and the search for food is on. Even these two young ones are no longer dependent upon one another for companionship, and there is every likelihood that this hunt may be their last together, and even now they tend to move apart somewhat. It isn't long until a movement catches the attention of the downhill cougar, and a small pack of foraging coyotes moves into view. They are nothing of concern to the young cougar, but he watches their hunting with interest, especially the nearest one, who is hunting mice. Mice often nibble on old deer antlers, so this is a good place for an enterprising coyote to take a look. There is mouse scent on the antlers, but no rodents visible, until the faintest of sounds alerts the coyote. The mouse picked a poor time to make his appearance, and the mistake is fatal. Quick bitings and releasing by the experienced coyote prevents his being bitten on the tender nose or tongue. With that action over, the cougar turns his attention to another coyote, and for the first time considers it as prey. The coyote quickly senses his peril. A large badger feeding on the deer carcass, which was finally abandoned by the fox, pauses to watch the chase. His heart not really in the chase from the beginning, the cougar lets the coyote go. He turns toward the feeding badger. The badger doesn't care for that at all. Unlike the bobcat, this young cougar has every intention of claiming the deer carcass, and the dispute attracts the attention of his sister on the ridge above them. But again, though the badger is much smaller, its courage and ferocity are great, and intruders are decidedly unwelcome. The situation has become deadly, with cougars below and above moving in. For a second time, the badger drives off the young male cougar, but the female has already taken possession of the carcass. Against one of the cats, the badger may have prevailed, but not against two. So, a dignified withdrawal is all that remains. The badger's loss wasn't great, since he's located another carcass buried under the snow. And for the moment, competition subsides. But only for the moment. The foraging coyotes are still nearby, and their masters at working together to relieve another predator of its meal. They've caught the scent, and their approach makes the badger circle and prepare to defend the rabbit carcass he's uncovered. Though the badger is a formidable assailant and keeps the coyote wary, the coyote's object is to trick the badger into chasing one of them. It's a ruse that works, only partially this time. The coyotes try again. With the precision of long practice, the coyotes very neatly relieve the badger of his prey. The badger makes a final charge. His food is gone, and he has been victimized in the ever-increasing competition among the predators. The coyotes won, and the badger's confused about how. But next time, he may win. For the two young cougars who have eaten their fill at the deer carcass, the time for parting has come. One elects to remain behind, while the other, the young male, sets off alone. This winter just beginning will be his first and his worst, and if he survives it, the chances are good he'll live for many years to come. He will survive only through perfecting his still amateurish hunting skills. So now, though no longer hungry, an opportunity arises to test himself against a wily and worthy opponent. Sliding through life in his usual carefree manner, the otter spies the big cat and enters the spirit of the game with zest. Not realizing he's being led on, the young cougar watches with interest. The intention of the otter is to make himself appear an easy catch. Not until he's quite sure the big cat really means to come after him does the otter ease from sight. And the cougar takes the bait. His escape well planned, the otter waits till the last possible moment. The otter seems almost to dare the cougar to come. It's too much like chasing shadows, and the cougar's interest is waning. The otter prefers to have the game continue. The cougar has had enough of such frustration for one day, and another appearance of the otter can make him stay no longer. The cougar gives up, even though the otter seems more vulnerable as he dries himself. While the enthusiasm of the cougar has been dampened, it is not dead. An attempt at perhaps easier prey might be successful. The cottontail's a likely subject for pursuit. But snow which supports the weight of a rabbit will not necessarily support the weight of a cougar, even if he's not full grown. At last, the cougar senses the futility of continuing this chase. Though ending in failure, it has been a good lesson, for not again will the young cougar so squander his energy. First snowfall has come. Those who have survived are a little wiser and more able to survive harsher storms to come. The coyotes wail, piercing the forests and probing deeply into the valleys below, carries a sense of loneliness and foreboding, an omen of most difficult living ahead, when dying becomes only too easy. Soon the coyote's cry will merge with and be lost within the rising howl of wind as new storms form and build and sweep over the country in savage onslaught. Just as those of his species have survived hostile times before him, so now this young cougar is learning to survive as winter comes to cougar country.
The food-finding efforts of all the predators, including the cougar, abruptly ended as the newest of this winter's succession of storms struck. His hunger increasing, the cougar will resume his hunting with greater determination as soon as the storm ends. Winter is a harsh time indeed for many creatures in cougar country. In this wilderness habitat, which man must strive to preserve, some creatures will survive the winter and others will not. But even those which do not survive are not wasted. They provide sustenance for the survivors as a part of the cycle of nature in this segment of the wild kingdom.